cause of the difficulties facing American farmers is John Deere. The company that was once praised for its creativity is now under fire for new rules. Farmers are facing a challenge they never anticipated, one that is altering their business practices and creating anxiety in the sector as a whole. But how did farmers lose faith in John Deere? Will they be able to overcome the criticism? How does the food on your table change as a result of this? What's happening? Most people don't realize that the name, which used to be connected to freedom in farming, is now seen as a symbol of authority. John Deere was more than just a company, it was a movement. The company has been linked to agricultural innovation and progress since its humble beginnings in 1837, when a blacksmith named John Deere created the steel plow. This innovative tool made it easier to till the hard, unforgiving soil of the American Midwest, turning arid land into productive farmland. As farmers credited John Deere with helping them succeed, the company's green and yellow equipment became a staple in fields across the nation. For many years, John Deere was a symbol of reliability, allowing farmers to produce food for a rapidly expanding world. Its devices were symbols of independence and ingenuity rather than merely tools. They worked hard, but farmers could also rely on them to last. Owning a John Deere meant continuing a legacy that valued self-reliance and perseverance. But over time, there were indications that this relationship was failing. In recent years, John Deere has shifted its focus from empowering farmers to managing them. The company's launch of innovative technologies initially seemed to be another development. GPS-guided tractors, smart sensors, and precision farming equipment were all intended to boost farming's output and profitability. However, these same technologies became tools of control, reducing farmers' ability to repair and maintain their own equipment. John Deere's proprietary software and locked systems undermined the trust that once existed. Farmers who have depended on John Deere for generations now feel duped by the company they helped start. Since financial gain was traded for independence, this is where the betrayal begins. So how did a company that once advocated for agricultural freedom become a symbol of power? Let's take a closer look at the policies that sparked this dispute. The struggle to have the right to fix. Imagine being told that something you own cannot be fixed. Doesn't it sound crazy? The right to repair argument is at the center of this dispute, with planters, harvesters, and tractors often costing hundreds of thousands of dollars. Farmers invest heavily in their equipment. For generations, having such equipment meant taking pride in performing your own maintenance. Repairs, no matter how minor, were seen as an indication of independence and resourcefulness in the farming culture. However, modern machinery from John Deere has taken away that independence. These days, the device is equipped with proprietary software that acts as a gatekeeper. Farmers now need this software to diagnose problems and replace parts, which can only be done by John Deere certified technicians. This suggests that even simple fixes, like replacing a battery or fixing a damaged sensor, require contacting an authorized repair service. The result? In excruciating delays and skyrocketing expenses. An issue that used to be fixed in a few hours now takes days or even weeks to fix. Furthermore, the cost is not only monetary, but also measured in lost time during critical planting or harvesting windows. For farmers, time is more crucial to survival than money. According to John Deere, these restrictions ensure security and protect the intellectual property of the software. Farmers, however, view this as a smokescreen. They contend that these regulations force them into a never-ending cycle of reliance on the business and are more about control than safety. We are all impacted when the food supply chain is disrupted, which is why this is important to you. Farmers are beginning to retaliate, and this is only the beginning. However, we must examine how John Deere's control goes beyond inconvenience to a kind of economic coercion before talking about the fight back. The price of domination. The interesting part is that it looks like John Deere may be losing ground to other farmers. The effects of John Deere's restrictive policies extend beyond individual farmers and have an impact on the entire agricultural sector. The economic effects of forcing farmers to put up with expensive delays and exorbitant repair costs ripple outward. Reduced supply results from unplanted or unharvested crops. The whole food supply chain is impacted by this shortage, which raises consumer costs. Consider the delays brought on by idle equipment, for instance. A farmer in Iowa once claimed to have lost an entire field of soybeans since, during the crucial harvest period, his harvester was broken for 2 weeks. Not only did he lose money, but it also raised the price of soybeans, which eventually affected grocery stores and ultimately, customers. The absence of reasonably priced alternatives exacerbates the issue. Farmers frequently have no option but to keep using antiquated equipment or incur additional debt in order to pay for new purchases when faced with prohibitive repair costs. Small farmers are severely disadvantaged as a result, and many are driven to the verge of financial ruin. Even worse, these policies are harming John Deere's reputation in addition to farmers. Previously perceived as a collaborator in the prosperity of American farmers, the corporation is currently perceived by many as a hindrance. former John Deere customers are looking into other options and switching to rivals who provide less stringent regulations and more adaptable repair options. The agricultural industry's foundations are being shaken by the backlash that has started. However, what occurs if those who provide for the world decide they can no longer do it? Resistance seeds. What began as annoyance has grown into a full-fledged independence movement. Farmers' annoyance spread beyond their fields and became a grassroots movement that is currently upending the fundamentals of agricultural policy. This movement's central demand is for the right to repair, which is a seemingly fundamental right, the capacity to fix your own machinery. Farmers contend that having a tractor or harvester should entail having all of its parts, including the software and equipment required for upkeep and repairs. This is a struggle for independence rather than merely a matter of convenience. Imagine purchasing a piece of equipment for hundreds of thousands of dollars only to be informed that you are not entitled to maintain it as you see fit. Farmers have to deal with that on a daily basis. Farmers talking to one another about the difficulties of dealing with John Deere's restrictive policies was the first sign of this growing resistance. However, as more farmers realized they weren't alone, it quickly gathered steam. Farmers soon joined a broader movement battling for legislative change after organizations supporting consumer rights and repair freedoms saw an opportunity to elevate these voices. And this results in a surprising turn of events. Farmers are winning, not just fighting. However, how can one defeat a behemoth like John Deere? Let's examine its armor's initial flaws. The initial triumph. Something that occurred in 2022 altered everything. In 2022, Colorado passed the nation's first right to repair law with an agricultural focus, marking a major advancement in the struggle for the right to repair. Companies, like John Deere, are required by this historic law to supply farmers and independent repair shops with diagnostic equipment, manuals, and parts. It was a huge win that demonstrated the importance of farmers' voices. Colorado's law established a standard that prompted other states to enact comparable laws. Lawmakers started to understand the right to repair debate's wider ramifications and realized that it was about consumer rights, corporate responsibility, and economic stability, rather than just farmers. This was more than just a victory for farmers. It was confirmation. Following years of feeling silenced and under control, they witnessed concrete evidence that change might result from their struggle. This victory served as the catalyst for a nationwide mobilization of farmers who pushed for more extensive state and federal reform legislation. This was the weakness that offered farmers hope. However, the fight was far from over. John Deere and its supporters had no intention of surrendering easily. Goliath versus David. However, overcoming a behemoth like John Deere is about more than just winning. It's about surviving. Although Colorado's law marked a sea change, it also revealed the extent to which companies like John Deere would go in order to keep power. These businesses reacted right away, spending a lot of money on lobbying to stop similar laws in other states. They have slowed progress in many areas, thanks to their substantial influence and large financial resources. According to John Deere, having unrestricted access to repair tools raises the possibility of equipment misuse, safety hazards, and intellectual property theft. However, farmers view these assertions as scare tactics intended to safeguard profits rather than people. They point out that while intellectual property concerns are exaggerated because most farmers only wish to fix their equipment, not reverse engineer it, safety concerns can be addressed through training and certification programs. The stakes are extremely high for small-scale farmers. They are defending not only their right to repair, but also their means of subsistence. Many people are on the verge of bankruptcy as a result of the financial strain caused by postponed repairs. This is a fight for survival as much as for independence. Nevertheless, farmers are regaining control in spite of the obstacles. As the battle heats up, rivals see a chance to intervene and challenge John Deere's hegemony. Other options emerge. One door opens when another closes, and the tractor market is a prime example of this. Competitors are filling the void left by John Deere's restrictive policies, which continue to alienate farmers. More farmer-friendly solutions are being offered by businesses like Kubota, AGCO, and CNH Industrial, which are gaining ground. For instance, Kubota has achieved success with its adaptable, small tractors, which are especially popular with farmers on a smaller scale. In addition to being more reasonably priced, these devices also have repair guidelines that enable owners to take care of their machinery on their own. Kubota's strategy is a welcome change for farmers who feel excluded by John Deere. AGCO, the manufacturer of Massey Ferguson and Fendt, has adopted a similar strategy. AGCO has been able to win over an increasing number of disgruntled John Deere customers by emphasizing farmer autonomy and providing clear repair processes. They are a desirable substitute for farmers looking for dependability without any restrictions because their equipment is reasonably priced and their repair tools are easier to obtain. In the meantime, CNH Industrial, the parent company of Case, IH and New Holland, is developing cutting-edge precision agriculture technologies. These developments directly rival those of John Deere, but they do not have the same stringent repair guidelines. Farmers are taking notice, and the market is showing the change more and more. Even Caterpillar, which has historically been associated with construction equipment, has started to enter the agricultural sector. Caterpillar is establishing itself as a significant competitor by utilizing its robust dealer network and customer-focused strategy. The industry is changing as a result of this change in unexpected ways. However, what does this portend for the future of John Deere? The implications extend well beyond the competition, and the fight is just getting started. The decline of John Deere. Although John Deere's hegemony is in jeopardy, their empire is being undermined by more than just the competition. John Deere was the undisputed leader in agricultural machinery for many years. Farmers pledged allegiance to its dependability, strength, and inventiveness. However, this agricultural giant's foundation has shown cracks in recent years. John Deere's sales and market share are beginning to suffer as farmers become more and more irate over restrictive policies. John Deere announced a startling 27% drop in sales during the third quarter of 2024 when compared to the same time last year. This decline was significantly greater than the competitor's average decline of 14.8%, indicating a more serious issue with the business. Farmers abandoning John Deere, which was previously unimaginable, is now happening. Trust is the key to the decline, not just numbers. Farmers are looking into other options because they feel deceived by John Deere's policies. This opportunity has been quickly seized by rivals like Kubota, AGCO, and CNH Industrial, who provide more adaptable repair options and cutting-edge technologies that meet the needs of farmers. There is no denying the change, and John Deere may suffer greatly as a result. Additionally, this affects much more than just the company's balance sheet. But what happens if a giant in agriculture makes a mistake? The effects are felt throughout the economy, not just at the company. The impact on the economy. Whole communities suffer when farmers face hardships. John Deere's restrictive policies have had a cascading effect that goes far beyond the fields. The financial effects of farmers having to put up with expensive repairs and downtime are felt by local communities, the national economy, and even international food supply chains. Consider a Midwest farmer whose broken combine prevents them from harvesting their corn crop in time. Reduced yields as a result of that delay mean less supply for processors making corn-based goods. Manufacturers raise their prices as a result of the shortages, which ultimately results in higher grocery store prices for customers. The outcome? Families are spending more on necessities like meat, bread, and cereal. For rural communities, where agriculture is the main driver of the local economy, the situation is even worse. Small towns frequently rely heavily on family-run farms to support their local hardware stores, suppliers, and service providers. Farmers have less money to invest in their communities when they must spend more on repairs or new machinery. The economic stability of entire regions is undermined, and small businesses suffer. The mental health of farmers is also impacted by these financial pressures, which adds another layer of difficulty to a lifestyle that is already difficult. The profit margins for many farmers are extremely low. Live in constant fear of being unable to pay your bills. The additional burden of being unable to repair their equipment only serves to exacerbate their stress, which in turn serves to contribute to a growing mental health crisis in rural areas of the United States. This is not merely a problem that affects farming. Rather, it is a problem that affects the entire world. The human cost is becoming even more apparent as the economic fallout continues to worsen. Now, let's investigate what the implications of this conflict are for the farmers themselves. The struggle to succeed in life. Imagine being without a means of subsistence as a result of the policies of a company. Quite a few farmers are forced to face this reality. The downtime that farmers experience is not only inconvenient, but it is also catastrophic. Should you fail to take advantage of a window for planting or harvesting, you may end up losing the income for an entire season. There is a perfect storm that threatens the very survival of many farms when you combine these risks with the rising cost of equipment and repairs. This creates a situation that calls for immediate action. In the state of Wisconsin, there is a dairy farmer named Sarah who, after her milking machine broke down, had a difficult time maintaining the viability of her farm. She was not permitted to repair the machine on her own or to hire a local technician because John Deere's policies prohibited her from doing so. Instead, she was compelled to wait for an authorized repair, which took almost 2 weeks longer than she had anticipated. It was during that time that her milk production dropped precipitously, which resulted in her losing thousands of dollars. In addition to being a financial setback for Sarah, this event served as a stark reminder of how vulnerable farmers have become in today's society. A matter of dignity is at stake here. It is not just a matter of money and money. With corporate policies that are designed to control every aspect of their operations, farmers who once took pride in their ability to provide for themselves now feel as though they have no control over their operations. It is impossible to overstate the importance of this situation for small-scale farmers, who already operate on extremely slim profit margins. A great number of businesses are being forced out of the industry entirely because they are unable to compete with larger operations that are able to absorb the expense. The farm is not the only place that will be affected by the ripple effects of these losses. A disruption occurs in the local and regional food supply whenever small farms are forced to close their doors. The overall diversity of the agricultural landscape is negatively impacted, and communities lose access to produce that is both fresh and readily available at prices that are affordable. However, the battle is not yet over. Farmers are taking matters into their own hands to fight for their rights. As the stakes continue to rise, the conflict over repair policies is beginning to spread into the corridors of the legislative and judicial branches of government. Legal conflicts and the fear of corporations. Why is John Deere so apprehensive about granting farmers the rights they are entitled to? The conflict in the courtroom regarding the right to repair has evolved into a conflict based on principles. While John Deere maintains that opening up repair tools and software would lead to safety risks and theft of intellectual property, farmers argue that they should have the freedom to repair the equipment that they own to the extent that they see fit. Control, however, is a more fundamental problem that lies beneath these arguments. The reluctance of John Deere to share repair tools is not simply for the purpose of safeguarding its software. Rather, it is directed toward preserving its monopoly over the repair market. By compelling farmers to rely on authorized services, the company ensures that it will receive a consistent flow of revenue. Profits are the primary concern here. Safety and innovation are not the only considerations. In an effort to challenge these restrictive practices, farmers and advocacy groups have taken their fight to the courts, arguing that they are anti-competitive and exploitative. Despite the fact that there has been some sort of advancement, the battle is not yet over. Through the use of its influence, John Deere continues to pour money into lobbying efforts to block right-to-repair legislation. This is done in an effort to slow down the movement. It is possible that the tide is turning. Farmers are finding support from a variety of previously unanticipated sources, including consumer rights organizations and technology companies that are advocating for expanding repair freedoms. It is becoming increasingly clear that this expanding coalition is exerting pressure on legislators to bring about significant change, and the momentum is growing. This paves the way for a confrontation that has the potential to alter the industry in an irreversible manner. There is a question that is becoming increasingly important as the conflict over repair rights becomes more intense. What does this imply for the future of crop production? Agriculture is entering a new era. Imagine for a moment that the future of farming is not about tractors, but rather about freedom. This discussion about the future of farming has been sparked by the right to repair movement, which has attracted a wider audience. For several decades, technological innovation in agriculture has been synonymous with progress. This includes the development of more advanced tractors, precision farming tools, and intelligent equipment. Nevertheless, farmers and industry experts are currently re-evaluating the meaning of innovation in its purest form. In its most fundamental form, the movement is about re-establishing equilibrium. Farmers are no longer content to merely be passive users of proprietary systems. Rather, they are eager to reclaim their independence. It is becoming increasingly possible to find viable alternatives to restrictive corporate ecosystems, such as open-source platforms and third-party repair tools. Imagine for a moment that in the future, farmers would have access to universal repair tools, diagnostics, and parts for any piece of equipment that they own. It's not just a dream anymore. It's starting to become a reality. The agricultural industry is undergoing a fundamental transformation as a result of this shift. It would be beneficial for farmers to work together with independent innovators and local repair networks, rather than relying on a small number of corporations. It is possible that the future of farming will be one in which farmers regain the ability to solve problems on their own terms, and where autonomy and efficiency coexist in conjunction with one another. Furthermore, this has the potential to level the playing field for farmers all over the world, thereby restoring the independence that they have fought so relentlessly to protect. However, what are some of the lessons that can be learned from businesses that have already initiated the adoption of these values? Let's take a shot at it. Learnings from other competitors. Sometimes, the most valuable lessons can be learned from your competitors. While John Deere struggles with the fallout from its restrictive policies, Competitors are taking a different approach, one that's earning them the trust and loyalty of farmers. Consider Kubota as an illustration. The company, which is well known for the adaptability of its compact tractors, has made significant headway by concentrating on agricultural operations on a smaller scale. Kubota is appealing to those who feel alienated by the manner in which John Deere conducts its business by providing equipment that is both affordable and reliable, as well as repair policies that respect the autonomy of farmers. The priority that AGCO, the parent company of brands such as Massey Ferguson and Fendt, has placed on the independence of farmers is also quite high. It is easier for farmers to perform maintenance without having to jump through corporate hoops, because their equipment is designed with transparent repair procedures and available at prices that are competitive in the market. AGCO has been able to steadily increase its market share thanks to this strategy, particularly in regions where farmers are looking for alternatives to John Deere farm equipment. In the meantime, CNH Industrial, the company that owns Case IH and New Holland, is concentrating on developing cutting-edge technologies, such as advanced precision agriculture systems. Despite the fact that these innovations are comparable to those offered by John Deere, they do not come with the same restrictive repair policies. Those farmers who implement these systems are able to take advantage of the most advantageous aspects of both worlds: highly developed technology and the liberty to manage their machinery in the manner that best suits them. Even Caterpillar, which has traditionally been associated with construction equipment, has started to focus on the growing market for agricultural products. Taking advantage of its powerful Caterpillar is positioning itself as a serious competitor in the farming space by adopting a dealer network and a philosophy that is centered on the customer. It is being demonstrated by these businesses that respecting the autonomy of farmers is not only a matter of ethics, it is also a matter of business. Nevertheless, the farmers themselves are the true agents of change. The competition is not the driving force behind change. The voice of the farmer. It took many years for farmers to feel that their voices were not being heard, but now it is impossible to ignore them. The grassroots right to repair movement has provided farmers with a platform to demand change, and they are making the most of this opportunity currently available to them. In order to amplify their message, advocacy groups, independent technicians, and even consumers have joined forces to work together. They have joined forces to transform what was once a specialized topic into a topic of discussion on a national scale. The dissemination of information has been significantly aided by the use of social media. In order to document the difficulties they encounter as a result of restrictive policies and the impact it has on their means of subsistence, farmers are documenting their experiences and sharing them online. A groundswell of support for the movement has been created as a result of these first-hand accounts, which have successfully struck a chord with individuals from all walks of life. Lawmakers are also taking notice of the situation. The groundbreaking law that was passed in Colorado is just one example of similar legislation that is gaining traction in states all over the country. At the federal level, the conversation is expanding, and policymakers are beginning to recognize the broader implications of corporate control over essential goods and services. This is a positive development. The agricultural sector is undergoing a transformation as a result of this collective momentum. Farmers are no longer content to wait for change to surface from the highest levels of government. Rather, they are demanding it from the bottom up. And as their voices become increasingly audible, the industry is left with no other option but to listen. In addition, this alters everything because it is no longer just about farming. Rather, it is about the power that can be achieved through collective action. The question now is, what does this imply for John Deere and for the future of the agricultural industry as a whole? The path that lies ahead. The question now is, what does the future hold for John Deere and for farming in general? Agriculture is currently at a pivotal juncture in its future. On the one hand, there is the possibility that improvements in technology, innovation, and efficiency will be made. On the other hand, the importance of autonomy, independence, and fairness in their relations. In the case of John Deere, the challenge is crystal clear. The company must adjust to the requirements of a dynamic industry, or run the risk of losing its position as the industry leader in agriculture. Although the company's restrictive policies may have made it possible for the company to achieve its short-term profit goals, they have also alienated the company's core customer base. The process of re-establishing trust will not be simple, but it is not impossible. John Deere has the potential to regain its reputation as a reliable partner in the farming industry, if it adopts the right to repair movement and places a higher priority on the requirements of farmers. In the meantime, the industry as a whole is undergoing a process of changing. Emerging technologies such as blockchain, which is used to increase transparency in supply chains, open-source hardware, and sustainable farming practices, are reshaping the way in which food is grown, harvested, and distributed. These innovations provide businesses with opportunities to align themselves with the values that modern farmers hold, which are values that are rooted in collaboration, fairness, and adaptability at their core. In the future, there is both promise and uncertainty for those who work in agriculture. In spite of the fact that the right to repair movement is making headway, the fight is not yet over. A significant amount of resistance from corporations continues to exist, and the transition to an agricultural system that is more equitable will take some time. If there is one thing that is certain, it is that farmers are no longer willing to remain silent. Their altercation has altered the course of the conversation, and the repercussions of this altercation will be felt for many years to come. Now that the days of unchecked corporate control are coming to an end, a new chapter in the history of farming is about to begin. As we contemplate this journey, there is one question that remains. What part will each of us play in determining the course that farming will take in the centuries to come? Would you like to share your thoughts on the right to repair movement? Are you of the opinion that John Deere ought to relax its hold on the marketplace and give farmers the ability to regain control of their machinery? Or do you believe that their concerns regarding the protection of intellectual property and safety are warranted? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. We are interested in hearing them.